Hello and welcome to Primetime Watchmaking in the News, our monthly show where we talk about the latest industry news, watch events, and of course new timepieces. And we have a very rich edition for you guys today. So hang in there and remember that Primetime can be downloaded as a podcast. Link below. So, since our last edition, we published an interesting report by Deloitte on the tendencies in the Swiss watch industry in 2023. The document has revealed several useful data, not only in consumer preferences, but also in the management strategies adopted by the key players throughout this year. So we discussed the report with Karine Szegedi, Deloitte's managing partner, and she pointed out several factors influencing the market at the moment, including the obvious interest in watch fairs and the somewhat volatile position of online sales. So it was nice to get the confirmation that physical sales are still much valued, and it appears that India is likely to become the primary focus for Swiss watch exports in the forthcoming years. But now let's delve into the latest news and let's immediately talk about the elephant in the room. And you guessed it, well, we're going to talk OnlyWatch. And as probably most of you know already, the famous biannual charity auction set to take place on November the 5th here in Geneva has been postponed. As simple as that. And let's now talk about some of the reasons behind this, because I'm quite convinced the situation could have been quite easily avoided. And to summarize things, well, let's say that the main issue comes to the notion of transparency and responsibility, or more precisely, the lack of. But let's put things back into context, as one has to remember that it's really only the last two editions that have become so spectacular in terms of results and crazy records. Out of the 100 million Swiss franc amassed over the years, 65% of this sum was achieved during these two last editions alone, and beneficial for all the players involved. Of course, the Association Monégasque contre les myopathies, the charity receiving the funds to find a treatment against the Duchenne dystrophy disease, the brands who got maximum exposure and contributing favorably to the perceived value and desirability of their pieces, to the auction house Christie's, again some nice visibility, plus the opportunity to cater to the most valuable collectors on the planet, and precisely, well, these last ones who could fight among themselves to obtain quite some truly unique pieces. And it has to be underlined that one of the beauty of OnlyWatch was that it was one of those rare moments that federated the watch industry, as brands from all groups, as well as most independent and also younger brands, participated and invested many efforts in coming every 2 years with exceptional timepieces. So what went wrong? Well, whenever there is a lot of money at stake, you know that at some point you will be placed under the radar unless you anticipate this, and unfortunately this is what we're witnessing right now. So the main problem is that the charity hasn't been very transparent, to say the least, and everything was governed by the principle of, well, trust us, we're taking good care of the raised money. But with the level of funds involved, I mean, this is of course a bit light, and in my opinion, there are shared responsibilities that explains the current debacle. So first and foremost, it was the charity's very own responsibility to be more transparent and, for instance, present audited accounts, even though it's something that was not mandatory under the law of Monaco until very recently. Well, even without this formal obligation, you do have a moral obligation towards the partnering brands that are donating significant timepieces, and another one towards the collectors that are committing huge sums to acquire them. So telling more precisely how the funds are used and allocated seems like a reasonable thing to obtain from the organization, and sharing more updates on the research side also seems like something quite normal. But this aspect of the project has always been a bit foggy, and by doing so, well, inevitably you create the grounds for suspicion, and this in turn can backfire on you, and it definitely did. So people started asking more and more questions, some of them being answered by the organizers, but it was already too late, because when the notion of doubt arises, well, then it's for sure very complicated to counter this. So as we're getting closer to this November 5th date, it really seemed that the show would take place despite all the noise around this OnlyWatchgate. Many were thinking that it would simply be more reasonable to postpone it until more light could be shed on the finances of the organization. And coming back to what I was implicating before with this notion of shared responsibility, well, I think that brands maybe took it a little bit too easy too. as if their only interest was on the auction itself, getting as much exposure as possible, and the actual cause of the charity felt a bit like it was placed as a priority number 2. So for instance, in between the editions of OnlyWatch, did you ever hear a brand doing some kind of follow-up in their communication regarding their involvement with the charity? Well, personally, I didn't, and I might be mistaken, but for me, I think brands could have asked more questions. I mean, they are definitely entitled to, it would seem. Well, with so many questions up in the air, one brand decided to temporarily withdraw their lot, and I'm talking about Audemars Piguet. So not a small player by any means, but that didn't stop the organizers' will to maintain the auction, and it's only a few days after this that they finally decided to pull it off. And I wouldn't be surprised if another few brands expressed their desire to withdraw their pieces too, and therefore forcing a bit this, reasonable postponement of the event. Well, I imagine if it didn't, and in such a climate of suspicion, well, the auction itself probably wouldn't have reached the level of performances of the previous editions, sending not such a good signal to the detriment of the participating brands. And in the context of a slight slowdown of the industry, well, this could have been badly interpreted. So all in all, we're now in a wait-and-see situation. Firstly, our accounts needs to be audited, and there are only 2 possibilities. Either there is some kind of fraud, and then the event is simply dead, or things turn out okay, and the event will then probably take place during the next Geneva spring auction period. But regardless of the outcome, the big collateral damage is this notion of trust, and the world of auction is mainly based on trust. And we've already talked about the harm the OmegAgate has had, so again, not a favorable story adding up for these houses, unfortunately. Well, I hope things will turn out fine, but at least this situation has forced for more clarity, and this can only be positive for the future, and it also allows to ask further questions. I mean, for instance, wouldn't it be better if the industry governed the entire event, including funding allocation to various causes? Well, that's just a little thought, and I would love to have your thoughts on this entire drama, actually. So let's now switch to more joyful news and talk new watches, and there are a few, but before we do so, I would like to note that Vacheron Constantin has recently launched its special version of the CPO program, which is called the Collection. It is the possibility to buy watches that have been found and authenticated by the Maison's heritage experts, and all timepieces are restored at the manufacturer and come with a certificate of warranty. So in total, there are 20 watches so far, which you can buy at Vacheron Constantin's shop around the world, and you can check the availability of each piece in the country of your choice on the Maison's website. But there's no shipment available, meaning that you must pick up the purchase yourself. So let's continue, and we're going to talk Akrivia and its recent, and I bet not final, collaboration with Louis Vuitton. So the presentation was made in California with watch collectors to check the new timepiece firsthand, followed by a bunch of journalists. And this new LVRR/01 is a chronograph à sonnerie, which means that it's a precision chronometer equipped with a tourbillon regulator that indicates the current time, but also an instrument that measures elapsed time while marking the passing of time with a sonnerie mechanism. So the watch has a 2-sided display with the front dial made in a tinted grayish sapphire crystal representing LV's modern style, while the reverse dial has a more traditional Akrivia face in white Grand Feu enamel. Well, we haven't had the chance to see the watch in real life, but it should be an interesting timepiece for sure. And according to the official statement, the mechanism was created in collaboration with LVMH La Fabrique du Temps, and the case was handcrafted by master Jean-Pierre Hagman. So there's a discrete GHP hallmark on the lower right lug, showcasing this personal seal of quality. Actually, this collaboration reminds me of another one started by Harry Winston in early 2000 under the guidance of Max Busser when he was at the head of the brand back then. And I'm of course talking of the Opus series of watches. Each year, a timepiece was launched in collaboration with young watchmakers such as François-Paul Journe, Vianney Alter, Mr. Greubel and Mr. Forsey, and each year we would all be waiting like little kids to see what would come out of this fantastic project. So is Louis Vuitton trying to emulate this again, or do they have another plan? Well, time will tell, but at the time it definitely helped Harry Winston to reach out to watch collectors and get a lot of press exposure, and it's actually a bit sad to see how the brand lost all this valuable momentum and hype around it. But now let's go to something completely different and talk Richard Mille with the RM07-01, this never-ending summer collection. So this time the brand took inspiration from the vibrant 80s and the Italian art and architecture movement Memphis design. The pastel colors, however, are more relevant to the modern times, and on a technical level it has a CRMA2 skeletonized automatic movement with hours, minutes, and adjustable rotor geometry. And the power reserve for this watch is quite enough, with 50 hours of use, and the tips of the hands as well as the marking at 12, 3, 6 and 9 o'clock are coated with Superluminova. But the real work of art is indeed in the design of the skeletonized dial and colored biocompatible ceramics. The latter one is officially called zirconia polycrystal and is made of over 95% zirconia. It is corrosion resistant and scratch resistant with toughness superior to that of sapphire. And this sub-micron grain size also permits an excellent surface finish for a matte effect of the case. And the choice of the colors is very summery, but blush pink, lavender and powder blue. Well, moving from the 80s to more ancient times with the new urwerk UR100V Time and Culture 2. This limited edition model continues the series of extraordinary urwerk timepieces meticulously decorated with image left by ancient civilization. This time the brand decided to draw its inspiration from Mesopotamia, specifically the city of Ur in 3000 BC. The inhabitants of Ur, the Sumerians, defined the very first unit of time, laying the foundation for time measurement as we know it today. Their golden number was 60 for 60 seconds and 60 minutes, and the inner movement of this watch is the quite well-known UR12.01 from the previous edition. It is a self-winding mechanical movement regulated by a planetary turbine automatic system with 48 hours of power reserve. A little difference here is that the hours and minutes are displayed alongside data on the Earth rotation. So once the 60th minute has passed, well, the minute hand vanishes and reappears as a kilometer counter. It illustrates 477-0.29 kilometers covered every 20 minutes by every inhabitant of Ur. At the exact opposite end of the scale is the Earth revolution around the Sun, or 35,742 kilometers per 20 minutes. And the engraving is also quite interesting, with some Easter eggs left by the brand. In the center there's an image of Utu, the god of the sun, as one of the watch's indication refers to the sun. Between the lugs sits the moon god Nana, the chief divinity of the city of Ur, and the blue color of the UR100V refers to lapis lazuli, a stone whose use was linked to Inanna, goddess of love, war and fertility. So quite a symbolic piece that you can wear on your wrist, but very much in urwerk's philosophy. The size of the watch is 41mm and it is of course a limited edition, this time to 30 pieces. From where the essence of times comes, however, we shall not forget that we live in the 21st century and strive for innovations. And for this, we will turn to GreubelForsey, who introduced its 8th fundamental invention, the Tourbillon à Cardan. This timepiece showcases a completely new type of tourbillon that combines 3 principles to achieve a leap in precision: a rapidly rotating 16-second tourbillon, a revolving 30 degrees inclined plane, and 2 perpendicularly tilting rigs. It's been a while since we saw a new timepiece in the invention series of watches by GreubelForsey, and I can only say that it makes me happy. Well, apparently it took the brand 3 years to make the concept of a new tourbillon a reality, but it was definitely worth it. So the Cardan, a mechanism based on the principle of a gimbal system, oscillates between plus and minus 30 degrees and ensures the tourbillon maintains the optimal angle while completing a revolution every 16 seconds. So with such speed, it is the fastest tourbillon within the brand's collection. And of course, it requires a lot of power, which is compensated by 4 coaxial series coupled mainspring barrels, delivering energy enough for 80 hours of work. The model comes in a titanium case that measures 46mm at the bezel and is 18.15mm thick, including the domed sapphire crystal. So this engineering marvel is not a limited edition, however, is set to be produced in 11 pieces per year only. And finally, a spectacular watch from a relatively young but yet very interesting brand, MING. So for those who don't know it, it was founded in 2017 by 6 enthusiasts from around the world under the leadership of Ming Tang, a photographer, designer and watch lover from Malaysia. Ming watches are assembled, regulated and tested in La Chaux-de-Fonds, with final quality control completed personally in Malaysia. To complete the picture, their 17.06 copper model in 2019 has become the horological revelation at the GPHG. So on October 26, Ming's presented its new model, which is supposed to be the lightest mechanical wristwatch so far. The Ming LW.01 manual and the LW.01 automatic weigh only 8.8 and 10.8 grams respectively. So with straps, it's 10.6 or 12.6 gram. It is an astonishing weight achievement for a mechanical and automatic wristwatch. Inside there are the ETA 2000.M1 or .M2 movements with 36 hours of power reserve modified by Schwarz-Etienne, specially for Ming. So both watches are 38mm in diameter and 6.5 in thickness. The lightness of these timepieces is achieved thanks to a special alloy called AZ31, which is a mix of magnesium, aluminium, zinc and manganese developed by Smith, high performance for motorsport application. It is lighter than carbon and retains the feel of metal. Plus, it's anti-magnetic, offers excellent weldability and can be machined faster than any other metal. So the surface of the watch is treated by keronite for corrosion resistance and biocompatibility with a further composite protective layer. Ming changed even the crystal, which in this case is not sapphire, but instead a lighter Corning Gorilla Glass 6 with an additional hardening and anti-reflective treatment. So quite a feat by Ming, and these watches will be limited to 200 pieces, and you could choose if you want it manual or automatic. Okay, let's now talk auction, and it's not because of what was mentioned regarding OnlyWatch that we are not in for some interesting sales happening in Geneva over the next few days. Starting with the 18th edition of Phillips in association with Bax & Russo on November 3rd and 4th, featuring 13 incredible chronographs. Out of an overall 180 lot, those 13 timepieces from makers such as Rolex, Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin stand alone and for sure will capture most of the attention. Just to name a few, the lot number 9, reference 4072, is one of Vacheron Constantin's most iconic and sought-after vintage chronograph wristwatch. According to Philips, the present model is among the finest and best preserved examples of the reference to appear on the market in recent memory, and there are only 70 pieces of this reference known in the world. The upper estimate for this watch is set at $110,000 US. However, the result may easily surpass this number. Another real jewel is lot 94, the Patek Philippe single-button chronograph with Breguet numeral in 18-karat yellow gold, called the Centennial. This 1924 timepiece is part of an extremely low production run of 27 single-button chronographs, of which 16 had officer cases like this present model. The upper estimate is set at $550,000 US. The rest of the catalog is equally worth seeing. For example, lot 108, which is the only known historically important and extremely rare pink gold prototype of the Simplicity wristwatch number 000 by Philippe Dufour. So the upper estimate for this timepiece is set at almost $900,000, but I'm pretty sure we will witness fierce bids on this one. The reason is not only that Dufour timepieces are rarely found at the auctions, even though there are quite a few on sale during the next few days, but coming back on this particular piece, there have only been 3 watches made featuring a Gyromax balance, which was not used in the production pieces. So one was Dufour's personal watch, and the other was later gifted to Mr. Yoshi Izogai, the president of Shellman & Co., Dufour's distributor for Japan. So the present Simplicity number 000 was marked as not for sale. It was delivered to Shellman in 2000 and remained an exhibition piece until the current owner managed to convince Shellman & Co., with the approval of Philippe Dufour himself, to sell him the watch, as the master was no longer taking orders at the time. So if you want to see this extremely rarity before it disappears in the private collection, well, you can check it during the public viewing on November 1st to 4th. And for the rest of the catalog, well, see the links below. Okay, next house, and Christie's this time decided to play hard and compete with 2 fantastic private collections. The first will be sold in Geneva on November the 6th and is called passion for time. It comes from Mohammed Zamam, the biggest single owner of watch collection to appear on the market in recent history. Mr. Zaman is the chairman of the eponymous Oman-based Al Zaman Group, and he was carefully assembling his wrist treasures for over 40 years. And to give you some highlights, the lots include Rolex reference 1678 GMT Master worn by Marlon Brando in the iconic movie Apocalypse Now, which was actually sold not that long ago. There is also the Grande and Petite Sonnerie #1, which is yet another stunning creation by Mr. Philippe Dufour, another piece which was sold quite recently by Philips in 2021 for $4.7 million. And the upper estimate by Christie's is set for almost $6.6 million, and we'll see what it will achieve and what the market will decide. Among other lots are the ultimate George Daniels anniversary #00, the first of the 4 examples made in platinum, and also the 18-karat rose gold Rolex Gordon Bethune Stelline reference 6062, which as well is quite rare to appear at auction. As I said before, it is not the only private collection brought to sale by Christie's, and another truly exceptional event will take place in Hong Kong as a significant part of one of the world's finest publicly known collection will be sold there on November the 26th. The AOK for one-of-a-kind collection, which comprises more than 500 items in total, belongs to a French businessman, Mr. Patrick Guetred, and it is the first of the at least 4 sales previewed by Christie's for the coming years. The collection, which is allegedly stored in a private location here in Geneva, was first revealed to the wider world in May last year in London in the first exhibition of its type. The event showcased 160 of Guetred's most prized watches, many of which were unique pieces. So Mr. Guetred was assembling his collection for more than 30 years and was until recently reluctant to sell his treasures, which in total might be worth over $300 million. Well, we were lucky to see a couple of lots out of these 142 pieces from the upcoming sales, including a piece made by Akrivia for Mr. Guetred, one of which is a stainless steel Akrivia's SSAK-06 Cadran Spécial Bleu with an intense blue dial, and it is the customer's favorite color. So then there's also Kari Voutilainen's stainless steel GMT6 for OnlyWatch. And of course the most interesting lot, the extremely rare 18-karat gold Audemars Piguet reference 5516, the perpetual calendar wristwatch with leap year and moon phase indication. And its upper estimate is set for over $1.6 million. So the whole collection is curated based on 3 criteria: pristine condition, rarity, and exceptional provenance. So if you have a chance to preview the spectacular lots of the upcoming sale, I highly recommend you to do so and see timepieces with your very own eyes, because there might be no other chance to see them at all in the near future. So there you go. So Sotheby's, on the other hand, is bringing less flamboyant attire to its important watch sales in November. However, there are also several exceptional watches to follow. For instance, Lot 97, the Millennium, a white gold automatic watch with date, double signed by George Daniels and Roger W. Smith. So completed in 2001, this is the last example from the Millennium series of watches to be made, and was specially assigned to Smith by Daniels. Considering its historical importance, the estimate for this lot is set to exceed $1.5 million. Next lot, with lot 15, the Clarins Mustad, reference 1518R by Patek Philippe. It is a pink gold perpetual calendar chronograph with moon phase and a beautiful bracelet. So the rarity of this piece is in its unique reference, which was not only Patek Philippe's first serially produced perpetual calendar chronograph wristwatch, but the first of its kind from any brand. It comes without papers and a box, but with Patek Philippe's extracts from the archives confirming the date of manufacture in 1944. The upper estimate for this Grail watch is set at almost $4.5 million. And in the second part of this auction, there's lot 210, which is the first edition of the Nautilus Jumbo reference 3700-1A. This stainless steel model was made in 1981, and the upper estimate is set for about $90,000 US. Lot 328 is a yellow gold Piaget with a coral dial from the 70s, and since Piaget this year has decided to come back with some 70s aesthetic, this piece might be a nice addition to your collection. And the upper estimate for this reference 9802D is set for only $8.8 thousand US dollars. I mean, we're not used to those numbers anymore. But regarding this lot, and for Sotheby's will not be doing any shipment of this watch, you will need to pick it up yourself. Alright, finally lot 416, and it's a nice collaboration, if I can say so, between Omega and Tissot from the 40s. So in the mid-1920s, the two brands united through a commercial partnership, which explains the double-sign watches. It is a stainless steel example of a rare single-button chronograph wristwatch, and the up estimate is set at $7.7 thousand US dollars, so it's not too bad. Okay, that's enough of auction news, but as we mentioned in the previous edition of Primetime, the first semester of 2023 has shown a 20% decline of overall sales among the big houses, and we will therefore carefully follow these upcoming performances. So let's now continue with a bit of additional business news, and coming back to the big fairs, Watches and Wonders has unveiled its program for 2024, and it will be bigger and last longer. Running from April the 9th to the 15th, the next Watches and Wonder will introduce a new 7-day program with the salon accessible to the general public from Saturday through to Monday. So in addition to the regular names, 6 new brands will make their inaugural appearances: Bremont, Eberhard & Company, Gérald Charles, Nomos, Glashütte, Norcane and Raymond Weil, who will share their places at the Carré des Horlogers. So the city of Geneva will also host various festivities, including the creation of a new Village Horloger to showcase fine watchmaking. Brands will also be joining the events with in-store activities featuring presentation and special exhibition. Well, quite a lot to see, so be well prepared, and looking forward to seeing you there. And we are only a few days from the GPHG, and we have a few special videos to share with you before the awards ceremony taking place on November the 9th, but also following the event with, for instance, some jury member interviews and of course the debrief of the various winners. So meanwhile, I hope some of you managed to see the preview of the participating timepieces during the Grand GPHG World Tour, which is currently visible at the Musérat here in Geneva until November the 12th. So special guided tours are organized to see the expo, comprising 90 watches, as well as watchmaking initiation courses for adults and kids. And if you want to test your horological knowledge, well, on Friday, November the 10th, there will be a pub quiz led by the Fondation de la Haute Horlogerie in collaboration with World Tempest. And I personally like the fact that this Grand Prix is getting a little bit bigger this year, along with Watches and Wonders, bringing Geneva to its rightful place, not only as a guardian of sophisticated watchmaking art, but also as a major hub of the international watchmaking culture. So even though Geneva can't have its own watch museum just yet, but I mean, that's another story. So we're getting close to the end of this edition of Primetime, but before, just wanted to mention that in London will be held the Watch Pro Salon at the Londonair Hotel on the 10th and 11th of November, with approximately 50 brands participating. But then we will have the legendary Dubai Watch Week taking place between the 16th till the 20th, and can't wait to be there. Always such a pleasure, and clearly an event which helps define what a successful watch fair should be like. So this is it for Primetime number 81. Thanks for watching and sharing your views. Always nice to read your feedback. See you soon, and as mentioned, we have quite a few videos to share with you in the coming days, so stay tuned, and until then, viva watchmaking! See you!